Wherever this finds you, I hope this finds you well. I'm Ben from Ben64 Console Curator, and today we're taking a look at the latest controller offering from EasySMX. That's right, the same folks who brought you the EasySMX S10 have now brought the EasySMX S10 Lite. Without further delay, let's get into it. Big shout out to the folks over at EasySMX. They ended up sending me the S10 Lite for review today, and I couldn't be more thrilled to bring it to you. That said, no money has changed hands in any way, shape, or form. All thoughts and opinions are my own, and this video has not been released prior to its review. All right, here it is. This is the EasySMX S10 Lite, the little brother to the EasySMX S10, which I reviewed a little while ago on the channel as well, and which I had very positive feelings about. You can check out that review. I'll leave it linked down below. Now, despite the fact that this is the little brother to the S10, I think the Lite actually has a couple of improvements over its older brother, and we'll go into those through the course of this video. Initial impressions, I really enjoy the black and yellow color combination that they did here. I think it looks really good and it pops really nicely. Now, the ergonomics remain largely unchanged on this controller when compared to its older brother. We still have some wonderful texturing that you can see throughout here. It continues all the way around the controller and up to the other handle horn, and that helps make sure that the controller stays grippy when you get slippy. Of course, we also have our back paddles here, GR and GL, as well as our S and X switch modes for Switch and Android, as well as an M button for programming purposes. And we will touch on those a little bit later on in the video. The layout remains the same as the previous controller, with our dedicated screen capture and recording button, as well as a chat function button and a home menu option. As was the case with the S10, I enjoyed this button layout very much because it reduces accidental inputs when trying to hit the plus or minus and accidentally hitting a home or a screen capture button, as is often the case with a Switch 2 Pro controller. Now, the SMX S10 Lite did not come with additional faceplates like its older brother did, but I can tell you that the faceplates are the same as its older brother, and you can swap those out and interchange them as you see fit. So let's quickly make some adjustments, shall we? Of course, that means you could put on a more blue option, but personally, I've been digging this option and we'll leave it on for the remainder of the video. Similar to its older brother, this controller features a few different connectivity options, including a 125Hz Bluetooth option, as well as a 1000Hz wired connection. This controller also features micro switch connections, JH13 Hall effect joysticks, turbo, and button macro looping, which we'll go over a little bit later. And of course, this is the perfect opportunity to do some button and noise tests for your consideration. Of course, this does feature the clicky sound that you get with mechanical action buttons. These have a 0.3mm actuation and an increased lifespan of over 5 million clicks. That said, these can be highly divisive. Some people like the clickiness, some people really do not. So if you're somebody who does not like clickiness, these face buttons could get old over time. The D-pad on the previous generation controller was in fact a micro switch connection as well, and this one, as you can hear in the testing, is not. It's a little bit more of a mushy dome switch connection, which means you forgo the clickiness. Some people might like that, some people might not, but I will say that the D-pad feels a little mushy to my touch. Of course, that is a preference thing. Now, there's a lot that's new about this controller, and most of the new features I think might actually be superior to its older brother. For those of you who like motion controls, this features a 9-axis gyro up from the 6 that we had on the previous controller. So this is a little bit more precise if you're somebody who uses motion control, and I'm definitely one of those people. Other visual improvements to the controller include, but are not limited to, a lack of logoing right here. As you can see with the SMX Lite's older brother, we actually have some logoing down here, and while this is a minor thing, I really don't enjoy that, and I much prefer the clean aesthetic of the SMX S10 Lite. See? It's just nice and clean somehow. You can see we have some nice texturing on the control sticks. It's a nice soft rubber. Not only are they JH13 Hall effect joysticks, they also feature SMX Glide tech, where they put silicone dampening underneath to try to mitigate friction to the best of their ability, and I have to say, these are buttery smooth sticks. There's also no audible stick slamming that I noticed. This is very similar to what you get with the OEM Switch 2 Pro controller and those amazing feeling joysticks. Now, perhaps some of the biggest upgrades to this controller actually come down to these 3 buttons here. It's no secret that at the beginning of of the Switch 2's life cycle, there were some connectivity issues in terms of native connection and compatibility, and a lot of companies were coming up with clever workarounds and solutions to get some expected functions. This controller ends up working natively with the Switch 2. That means you have a native chat function button. It's not a pre-programmed macro that features a series of inputs. We also have a native wake from sleep button. And perhaps my favorite result of native recognition is the fact that you can program and bind GR and GL in the Switch 2's menu options so that it remembers your back programming per game. That's an incredible quality of life upgrade, and one that after using might be hard to do without. Pressing the home button and waiting until the controller turns on. Once you see the light flash, well, that's a guarantee that your Switch is turned on. And a single press of the chat button will show off the native chat functionality of this controller. Notice how it just pops right up. You'll also notice when pressing and holding the home button that we see the addition of the GL, GR buttons here. And that's what allows you to customize your back paddle buttons. Holding my menu button and bringing up my little mini menu, I can scroll down here to my GL, GR button options, and I can remap them per game. So if I hit the GL button, you can see that it brings up the GL mentioning that back paddle. At this point, any button that I press will be assigned to that button. So if I do B, you can see that it replaces it with B. At this point, if I go over here, I can select GR directly by hitting A, like so, or I can just hit the GR button and it'll pull up that as well. So you can do fast binding on the go that's remembered per game profile. And that is a game changer. Going into Fortnite, if I bring up my mini menu and I scroll down, you can see that I've already assigned those back paddles. My left back paddle is assigned to B, my right back paddle is assigned to Y. It remembered that for the profile. And of course, Cuphead confirm that it's remembered the settings from before. One of the features that I really like about this controller is the fact that you can manually program in macros and looping macros. So what you're going to want to do, you're going to flip your controller over, you're going to hold the M button in conjunction with either the GR or the GL, depending on which button you want to program the macro to. We're going to do the GR to start. We're going to hit M and GR at the same time. We're going to hold it till we feel a vibration, and it's going to be confirmed by a blinking icon here. Once it's confirmed, you know that you're in input mode. So we're going to do like that. I'm blinking, so now I know whatever I put in is going to save. So we'll go over here, we'll charge up, we'll roll, we'll do another time. Oh yeah. We'll go over here, we'll charge up one last time. And now if I hit GR, that whole sequence is going to take place automatically. Here we go. Boom. Now put that down. That's right. Look, Ma, no hands. Let's watch Santa's dance. So that confirms how that macro works. You're going to notice it's not happening again, right? At this point, if I want to make that a looping macro, one that's just going to repeat indefinitely until I cancel it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit both the M and the GR button at the same time, just a quick press. And you can see, boom, it's already starting that macro again. So at this point, this macro is going to continue indefinitely until I decide I want to cancel it. And if you want to cancel it, we're going to hit M button and the GR. I just got a vibration. I just got the flashing. I'm going to hit that button one more time, and now it's canceled. So you can see nothing happens when I push that button. To show you another way, we're going to actually use our input tester. And for those of you who do not know, this is present in your settings and allows you to test your controllers, test your Joy-Cons, what have you. Let's do another macro. This time we are going to do it on the left side just for variety. We're going to hold M and the GL. It just started vibrating. You can see that we have that going on. Let's do up, up, down, down, left, right, BA. Now we're going to confirm that with GL again. Boop. So I cleared it out. Now we can see the macro functioning in its entirety, okay? We're just going to hit that GL button, up, up, down, down, left, right, BA. You want to enter it on repeat like I was saying before. Again, we're going to hit the M button and the GL button at the same time, just a quick press. All right, and now you can see that we are able to enter the Konami code on repeat without any further actions. Now, this sequence is going to continue until you cancel it or until something runs out of batteries or goes into a sleep mode of some sort. And again, to cancel it, we are just going to hit that M button and the GL, quick press. We're going to get that flash, and then we're going to kill it with that GL. To remap your buttons to the back paddles, you can do that as well. We're going to hold our M and our GR, see that that flashes, and we are going to program that to Y. And then we're going to reconfirm by hitting GR again. At this point, anytime I hit that button, you'll notice that it puts in a Y, and I can still have my access to my Y over here. Now, to get the other side going, we are going to do the same thing with our GL. So I'm going to hold M and GL, little controller flashy. I'm going to hit B, and then we confirm it by hitting GL again. Now that I have that programmed, if I hit either of those back buttons, they're going to pop up here. So I have B and Y programmed, as you can see, and I'm using my B and Y here, and that works fine. To flip it over, I can do see why there. And that's something that's going to save between usages. So if you turn off your controller and power it off, when you turn it back on again, those buttons will still be bound there. So if you cycle the power on and off, these settings will be saved. And that will mean that your B and your Y will be recognized as these paddles in every game that you play. So that's why you might want to consider using the native functionality to program your back paddles per game instead of programming them for the controller itself. But either way, the world's your oyster and Bob's your uncle. Now, the EasySMX S10 Lite does not feature HD Rumble, which was from the previous generation Switch. It also does not feature HD Rumble 2, which was introduced with the Switch 2. That said, it does feature giant chonking rumble motors in either side, and it is so intense. If you're a Rumble fan who doesn't care about the HD Rumble status, I think you'll probably really like this. And it's easy to program on the fly and on the go. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold your M button, and then you're just going to scroll through the various intensities with your left stick, with up, increasing intensity, and down, you guessed it, decreasing intensity. We're going to hold that back M paddle, and I'm going to go down, and I can feel it getting progressively weaker as I go down until eventually there's no rumble at all. Then when I go up, it's going to become low, medium, high, and then stupidly intense. And when I say stupidly intense, personally, I love rumble, and I love old school chonky rumbles. I grew up with the N64 rumble pack. I put this at the second highest level and not the intense rumble setting because it vibrates so incredibly violently. Earlier, I actually did a macro program for you guys, and I had not turned off the rumble, and this controller was just sliding across the table. And while I love all of those features, of course, this wouldn't be a Ben 64 console curator video without the Triple C. That's right, it's time for the Constructive Criticism Corner. And today's first constructive criticism relates to the faceplate options. These are all the customization options that you get with the S10 Lite's older brother. Well, this was here and this was there, but you get the idea. The fact is that we had multiple faceplates to customize our controller to our liking, as well as sticker sheets that we could use to customize these clear plastics. And of course, you can use any stickers that you might have. I do wish this had included more of those options so you didn't have to buy them separately or have the other version of the S10. Well, I love these joysticks and the smooth glide technology that they put into them, which provides a notice audible upgrade from the EasySMX S10. I will say that I wish instead of JH13 Hall Effect joysticks that these were TMR. Over the past decade or so, joystick technology has changed pretty dramatically in terms of what you're able to access in your everyday controllers. And we have the full range displayed for you here of the 3 joystick options you're most likely to encounter. I can't help but feel that the inclusion of TMR joysticks in this controller would have been a nice upgrade and would have made this controller feel like it had a complete suite of best-in-class or near best-in-class control stick options. I can't help but think it might have been a missed opportunity. Of course, another consideration is the fact that this is not a swappable D-pad. With the EasySMX S10, you can actually remove the D-pad and switch it out to a disc D-pad or something like that should you so choose. I'm sure some people will care about that. Realistically, as you can see, I switched this to the D-pad and I never looked back. That said, I do feel like it feels a little bit mushy in response when compared to this one, which uses micro switch connections. So take that as you will. The SMX S10 also does not feature RGB. Now, for me, that's actually not an issue. I prefer a controller without RGB because I do not want that additional battery drain, and I find that if I'm playing a game, I'm probably not looking at my hands. We also have a somewhat diminished battery life. This guy comes in at 1,000 milliamp hours when compared to its older brother, which comes in at 1,200. One thing I've noticed in my time using this controller is just how chonky the rumble is. So you have a very intense rumble with 4 different levels, but it's not HD rumble or HD rumble 2. It kind of just chonks away no matter what you're doing. And while probably minor for most, this controller also does not feature NFC amiibo support. Finally, while this controller features both Bluetooth and wired connectivity, I really would have liked to see a higher polling rate in Bluetooth mode so that you could have a little bit more confidence on high-level competitive gaming. And from there, let's get right into the pros of this controller, starting again with aesthetics. We have no logo on the controller horn, and I prefer the logoless option. We also have a native wake from sleep function, a native chat button function, and back paddles that you can assign and have your Switch to remember so you can have different profiles per different games. Additionally, if you are a motion control advocate, this controller features a 9-axis gyro, making the most use of Nintendo Switch 2's gyro connectivity when compared to the 6-axis gyro of its older brother. And of course, we have those Hall Effect JH13 joysticks, which are not prone to stick drift, feature EasySMX's glide technology, and are buttery smooth and a joy to use. We also have no RGB, and that means that we have no RGB to drain the battery. So despite the fact that this is a 1,000 milliamp hour battery compared to the older brother with a 1,200 milliamp hour battery, you don't have to worry about eating away at the battery capacity that you do have with those RGB lights. And of course, the final pro, and this is a pretty big one, is the pricing. This comes in at $39.99, and of course, that's before you use my discount code, which I'll have included here and linked down below, which I would call a pretty big pro. I mean, $39.99 for a controller of this quality with this many features, well, that's a steal when you consider the OEM Nintendo Switch controller is about double the price, as are many competitive options. And with these pros and cons taken into account over the following grading categories, bearing in mind its extremely competitive pricing, I find the EasySMX S10 Lite easy to recommend with a final score of 89 out of 100 and a letter grade of a B+. And truth be told, with the native Switch 2 functionality introduced here, I'm not sure I would not pick this over its older brother. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you think this strikes the perfect balance between features and price point? Or do you still find yourself leaning to the S10 Lite's older brother? Maybe you plan on rocking handheld mode, or using Nintendo's OEM Switch 2 Pro controller, or holding out for that perfect controller complete with TMR joysticks. Either way, I genuinely love to know what you think about EasySMX's latest offering. And while you're at it, like and subscribe. Regardless, I'm Ben from Ben64 Console Curator, saying the past, it's present, and the future, it's what you make it.